Welcome to the Junior Jobs Podcast, where we interview recently hired junior developers to give you actionable job search advice that is relevant to today's job market. And today's interview is special, where typically we interview recently career transition software engineers. Today we're talking with Zach Rebennack, who recently transitioned to a career into data analytics. So, are you interested in hearing more about other junior career options in tech outside of software development? If so, just let me know in the comments what other career paths you'd like to hear a perspective on. And our sponsor for today is David Roberts with Crushing Digital, who's offering our listeners 30% off his video series called Standing Out in Tech, which covers every aspect of the junior developer job search. Just click the link in the show notes and enter the code JuniorJobs30, one word, at checkout. Get your discount. All right, Zach. Well, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric.
Yes, welcome. So you're actually our first data analyst on the show. So before we get into the job search specifically, can you tell us a bit about what you do as a data analyst and what education path you took to get there?
Yeah, of course. So as a data analyst, I take in the bucket load of data that our company ingests from either our internal transactions or external transactions that we import through APIs. And then we get to query it with SQL and then put it into visualizations for our customers who are like our internal business people, whether it's through sales, marketing, finance, anything like that, and just format it and shape it so that they can understand what is happening with that data.
Okay, very good. And then you took a Java web development boot camp before getting into data analytics. How did that boot camp prepare you for this role, or why did you decide to target data analysis after leaving that boot camp?
Yeah, I so we cover it's a full stack development program. So we cover everything from, front end JavaScript all the way back to Java and SQL. So we definitely got some back end experience and some database experience. So that really kind of interested me with the way that databases and SQL kind of work. And it's just very much textbook. It's black and white. There's no question about what you're going to get from when you type something. It's very structured. And I like that a lot. And so I kind of was leaning towards that aspect of tech. And so I was looking into different roles, whether it's data analyst, data science, or some sort of like database architect or anything like that. And I kind of stumbled upon data analysis. It was a little out of my comfort zone, just being a bit more business focused as well. Being a data analyst, it's kind of like a hybrid between tech focused and business focused, which I don't really have a lot of business experience. So it's kind of intriguing to me to learn more about something else. I always love to keep learning. So just getting that on the job experience through learning from my coworkers and just experience in general was really fun.
So you targeted, just to clarify, you targeted the data analyst role specifically, or were you looking at the same time for web development roles, front end, full stack? What in your job search, how specific were you in targeting this?
Yeah, I was definitely drawn more towards the data side of things, but I kept my door open to any opportunities really. I applied to a lot of like back end development jobs and stuff like that as well. Got a few interviews in that, but didn't work out. So then luckily I got an interview with this data analytics job and landed a really cool gig.
Yeah, I think there are a few principles here that I want to highlight here. Thank you for that, Zach. One is a common pitfall that I see in junior developers when they are looking for their first job is that they say, I'm open to anything. And then they apply to everything. And really, the more targeted you can be and more focused, the more you can stand out. So, well, it's a little counterintuitive. You think, hey, if I'm open to more types of opportunities, there's a greater likelihood that I'll get hired in one of them. But if you can, on your LinkedIn, on your resume, as far as the projects you're building, kind of focus on a specific niche, I think the more success that
Mhm.
you'll have in that job search. So, talking about the job search specifically, help me understand the interview process for a data analyst. Most of our listeners are familiar with the data structures and algorithms, coding riddles that a software engineer has to solve for the interview. But what does a technical interview look like for a data analyst role?
Sure. So just being mostly SQL heavy, and I use some Excel too, but that's a whole different field. So just being SQL based, it was just a lot of kind of proving that you can query and filter and join and all that basic stuff pretty much, especially as like a entry level data analyst that didn't necessarily need to know like Python or any of those Python libraries that are data heavy. But they really focused a lot at 80 Acres on kind of having a diverse group of analysts just because of the broad scope of what an analyst does, just being able to both develop and build these reports and understand the data and then also be able to explain it to the customers and like present what it means.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in these interviews, well, first help me understand, how did you find these interviews? Were they orchestrated through your boot camp? Did you find them on your own? And if so, where and how did you find them?
Yeah, so we did have a lot of interview opportunities and through our boot camp, but it took me a little bit afterwards to get a job just because we graduated right before the holidays. And so everything kind of went on pause for a month or a month and a half just because of that. So I do have a family member who also works for the company, but I also was kind of searching in that general direction anyway. So it wasn't apparent from the beginning that I was gonna go towards that. So, but once things kind of snowballed that direction, it really took off.
So, when you say I started going that direction, did you do a cold apply to their company website or did you go through a referral? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just I cold applied. I knew he worked there, and so what I did was I didn't really like confront him and be like, "Hey, put a good word in for me." I applied and I did what I was told to do. I followed up. I kind of like stayed on top of it, made sure I emailed, thanked them for their time, all that stuff that really kind of helps keep you in their mind.
That particular role, though, you applied to it only because you knew about it through that family, or was there a job board that you used or a LinkedIn search query that helped surface that to you?
Yeah, I did come across it through LinkedIn, and then I used LinkedIn probably primarily when I was job hunting, just because it's so versatile and so, I guess, like, up to date and so centralized. You don't have to go to all these different companies' websites. You can search very easily. It's very helpful. And so I did find it through LinkedIn and then connected to some people who worked there and just kinda, like, stuck my foot out.
Okay, stuck your foot out. So you messaged like the recruiters or other data analysts directly on LinkedIn and they responded to your outreach?
Yes. Yep.
We haven't talked too much about this on this podcast about the actual format or template for messages or how to reach out to people. When you approach these strangers on LinkedIn, what was your introduction? What was your pitch?
Yeah, so that's kinda one thing that Tech Elevator really focuses on is, like, your pitch and kind of like a quick 30-second pitch about, like, your background, why you wanna get into tech, and that kinda stuff. I don't remember mine from my program,
Mhm.
but it is kind of along the lines of, I'm eager to get into tech, you have, like, a very interesting company, and, like, this is my background, why I think that my background and my experience will help impact your company.
Okay, very nice. Did you do any research to kind of customize that message or reference any specific opportunities, or was it just that kind of generic message?
I definitely like research, like look at the companies, go to their website, kind of look at their openings and like who works there and what job titles they have and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So it's definitely good to do your research beforehand, kind of know what you don't want to just go in with a copy and paste message. That's not gonna really get you where you want to be. But kind of do your research. It doesn't have to be super intense, but just get a general idea of what that company does and kind of how you could fit into the
Mhm.
company.
That's good. Yeah, a lot of people I talk to are afraid of reaching out to strangers online, especially when it comes to potentially asking for a referral. But what I think is
Hmm.
often missed is that employees are financially motivated to refer strangers. What I mean by that is
Hmm.
if a company were to use a recruiting agency, that agency is going to charge something like ten to $20,000 after somebody gets placed. But instead, what a company will do is they'll offer their employees, $2,000 if they refer somebody from their network, even if they don't know them. Now, there's still a job interview process to prevent anybody from low quality getting into the company. But the truth is, when you reach out to a stranger and ask for a referral, oftentimes they'll look at you and see you as their gateway to that nice, shiny referral bonus. So
Yeah.
you may be doing them a favor.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if the person you reach out to is in the department already that you're going to be working in, then they kind of get to see you beforehand and decide whether or not that you would be a good fit on their team.
hmm Absolutely. Well, very good. So then the interview process, how many, for the one that you got into, how many stages were there in the interview process?
I believe it was 3 stages.
Okay.
So the first stage was kind of just talk with HR, talk with somebody, kind of get to know you, just a general, this is what the company's about. What kind of experience do you have? How do you think you would fit in the company? Just a, basic HR interview, which went well. And then I went and did a technical interview with one of the analysts that had been working there for a while, just to, prove that I had just at least the basic SQL skills and just like the basic knowledge and understanding of data and how, if I'm able to explain it well. And then the third interview was more along with like who would become my boss and HR and kind of get like a really detailed, like personal feel about how things are going.
hmm Yeah, I found that each one of, or I should say, the success criteria for each one of those interviews is different. From my
Hmm.
experience, that first conversation with HR, they're really just trying to make sure you check as many boxes as possible on the job description. The recruiter, while amazing and wonderful, is probably not very technical. So
Hmm.
they're just taking the requirements from the hiring manager and making sure you meet as many as possible before they refer you on. Then that hiring manager, the success criteria there is if you can actually do the job. And then that last group is typically either the team or it's some sort of business stakeholder, and that's usually like a cultural fit. So part of preparing to be successful in the interview is understanding the audience of the interview you're going into because each strategy is going to be different. So then looking back into your job search now, is there anything that you wish you had done differently? Any parting advice you'd like to give to those that are now entering the job market?
Yeah, I think being very forthcoming with the people that you're reaching out to and be reaching out to somebody in the company, especially if they're in the role that you're applying for, and kind of being assertive, but not overly assertive. I wish I would have done that earlier in the process, I think. I think I learned as I went on, but it took me a little bit to kind of gain the courage to put myself out there and really kind of push and try to be noticed just because I'm not that kind of person. But when you're in the job hunt, it's kind of just put yourself out there, be yourself, don't try to be something that you're not, and just give everything you have.
Especially in the current job market, there may have been a time, maybe a few years
Mhm.
ago, when companies were aggressively hiring developers. And that is true to a certain degree, depending on the number of years of experience you have. But especially
Mhm.
now, it's not uncommon for companies to have an opening for a junior role that and have it be swamped with thousands of applicants. So, one, yes, you have to be qualified for the role, but there are many that are qualified for the role. So, anything you can do to stand out and the common way of doing that is by just putting yourself out there and contacting people. And it's uncomfortable, but you get better at it with time. Well, thank you, Zach, for sharing your story. That's all the time we have for today. So I want to say thank you to all that are listening as well. We will catch you all next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Junior Jobs Podcast. We hope you found today's interview helpful as you navigate your own job search in tech. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to like and subscribe, as that helps us reach more developers in need. And don't forget to check the show notes for details on today's sponsor and other job search services that we provide. Thanks for listening and have a great day.